You're new.
Mm-hmm.
You're killing it though. You've been doing really good. How do you think the planning and stuff has been going so far from the stuff I gave you in the beginning?
It's helped a lot because it's given me an idea of like how to build up on what we do.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I've noticed with the kids in doing work is that they don't learn the way that I learned math.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty similar to the way you learn just from the work you give, that they don't see any value in doing like a bunch of worksheets.
Mm-hmm.
They need to like not be, I don't know, they just don't focus on that. So it's
Switch
really,
it up, give them a different activity, let them do a puzzle, let them do this. So it's like the same worksheet, just have them up and moving or with a partner doing something. They feel like they're being creative.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I've also noticed that like on the structure of a worksheet, because you could fit like 10 problems on one page, but if I do 10 problems on like 3 pages and they have more space to do their work on, they actually do it.
Yeah. It's intimidating for them to have it all on one paper.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm never going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Or you get that kid that's like, I'm going to do it on a separate sheet, and it never really happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How's it going working backwards? Are you able to look at the test, make sure you're covering everything from the test, or is it more of kind of just, you know the topic and then you're breaking it down?
So one thing, that helps me because then I know like how to sequence it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've started doing, and it's worked out well so far, is doing like not calling it a test when I give it to them and being like informal about it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, this is just a bigger worksheet than we usually do.
Let's just see what
and
you
they
know.
do it, yeah. And then they're a little bit more about it.
Have you been giving them a formula sheet?
No, I haven't.
I've
been trying to like teach them things so they remember.
Yeah.
And because like one thing I did with like Pythagorean theorem, because we covered distance formula too, is I made the formula the same for both of them. I like simplified the distance one.
Right.
And I like talked about Pythagorean theorem for like 2 minutes. And then recently we went over Pythagorean theorem again, and the kids that you wouldn't expect to remember were like, didn't we already do this? This is so easy. And I was like, it worked.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, you know, later on when we get into stuff with circle diameter and things, it's kind of similar again.
So they'll be able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And that's the blessing of math too, is once you get all that pre-work done, it kind of just trickles through. So they'll be like, oh, I did learn that.
Yeah.
Like when we broke it down and we were solving one step, then 2 steps, then multiple steps.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, so we've already been doing this, now you're just putting all of these things together.
Mhm.
So I see where you're working. And that's what we're gonna do kind of today, is just, we wanna make sure that we know the language of things that they should have known already.
Mhm.
But if you didn't go to that, that's fine, they'll learn it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, because you are, I'll get this. No, so, but no, so we'll just, the biggest thing since it is your first year is the misconceptions.
Yeah.
When you work backwards, you want to get the exam.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the exam, you kind of almost want to get the exam. All right, so here's the topics. I need to cover this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
Right, and that's given the exam.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then you get with somebody that's already taught it.
Right.
And then go over the misconceptions. Get a student exemplar and be like, hey, this right here, they didn't get this part at all.
Okay.
Or most people said D. Why did they mostly say D?
Okay.
And then once you get those misconceptions, you can start planning these units.
Mm-hmm.
Planning these units like that. So it's like, hey, I know when I covered this, they didn't understand that part, so maybe spend 10 more extra minutes or try this way instead of a different way.
Okay.
Especially with geometry.
Yeah.
But a lot of these have that pre-planning to where you already see those misconceptions before.
Mm-hmm.
So working backwards will help with that, and then you can eliminate a lot.
Sure.
And then we can start looking at it and looking at the dates.
Okay.
Because I know we have a couple missing, like we have that half day on the 5th,
Yeah.
MLK, President's Day.
And then spring break too, that week in March.
And then with this, I just wanted to break it down. So each day should be an intro. You do June house, right?
Yeah.
And then with that do now, that can come in the misconceptions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if you know that they're not going to get this part, they're going to struggle, maybe throw that in every day,
Okay.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they've seen it, even if you're not even going over it anymore, and it's going to come back at the end,
Okay.
they're still seeing
Keep
it.
it fresh. Yeah, yeah.
And then the lesson activity, it could be the same thing over and over, because with math, you learn, you do, you learn, you do.
Yeah.
You do. But the biggest thing is an activity.
Okay.
You want to make sure that you're wrapping it all up for the next day, so
Okay.
that when they come in for that do now, it's full circle.
Okay.
How's that going now?
The exit ticket gets that's where I think I need to improve most right now, just because it's like because you know, like the days when the kids are actually doing their work and it's like, oh, if they'll just work till the bell, I don't want to interrupt them, you know.
What about those days though that when you are in too early and you have those like
Yeah.
10-15 minutes? How are
Yeah.
those going?
Well, then it's like the broadest struggle I have is like, okay, I review the material in the morning, you know, so it's fresh. Then when I explain it, to me it all makes sense, and then the kid's like, oh, I don't understand, and I go over it, you know, we're like, well, we're not going to use that language, you know, and you go
Yeah.
through all the other steps to try to get them to express what they are struggling with, and then we like cover it, and then I'm like, all right, class, we're all going to go over this. Then I finish, and then another kid asks a question, and it's the same question. So it's just like the kid's not paying attention.
Yeah, and it really can be that. And sometimes the kids play pretend the whole period that they
Yeah.
get it,
Right.
and then you don't have that time at the end to really check if they did.
Mm-hmm.
A good way to plan that in your system is have, when you get your exam and you have your plan, already have all your exit tickets lined out.
Okay.
So while planning, have the exit ticket in mind
Okay.
that corresponds with the assessment.
Okay.
So even if you never get to it, at least you have it.
Okay.
So if there's like 15 minutes left,
Right.
it's already in your drawer, you just pull it out.
Right. Right.
And how I like to do it is, I try to do it within the last 7 to 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But if there's 15, wing it.
Yeah.
And then throw that in at the end.
Yeah.
But if they're solving two-step equations, it'll just be a little slip with 2 equations on it.
Okay.
Or get out a scratch sheet of paper, those 2 equations. And as they leave the room,
Mhm.
I'm looking at it. I already know the 2 answers, so I can check and check and check. And if I see the same mistake happening,
Yeah.
that's letting me know what I need to do in my intro tomorrow,
Okay.
because they didn't get it.
Right.
And that kind of catches the ones that have the questions but don't ask it,
Mm-hmm.
as well as those kids that kind of pretended they knew,
Right.
and you didn't have that second to check them at the end.
Okay.
So that's like how you want to organize it, but
Mhm.
sometimes you may never get to that, but at least you
Have it.
have it ready.
Okay.
So you don't have to wing it.
Right.
It can go into planning. But let's start breaking down. We have our learning targets and learning objectives. Were you able to break those down? The what, why, how? So this unit, we broke down the learning objectives like
Right.
that. So that when you were breaking down things, and it can continue on for days.
Yeah.
What will you be doing? Setting up ratios and proportions, solving how, using multiplication,
Mhm.
why. So you will be able to solve similar triangles.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we'll be able to, when you're doing these,
Mhm.
sometimes it's easier to just kind of even label them,
Okay.
and then you can be like, that's A1, A2, A2.
Okay.
So that way because they're gonna start doing those walkthroughs where they want the learning objective
Okay.
ups, so you can have those up there for
Okay.
days.
Okay.
Making sense.
Yeah.
And then the activities should be in there.
Yeah.
We'll have a scavenger hunt, a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll probably be a couple different matching games, and then outside activities with mirrors.
Okay.
And then I believe it's all in order with the